Free practice 2 underway here at Monza. Welcome to GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Endurance Cup, our second Endurance Cup event of the season. The teams, of course, have had the Sprint Cup opener in between Paul Ricard back in April and Monza now at the very end of May. And in warm temperatures, glorious sunny conditions here, the circuit is getting busy for their second 90-minute period of the day. They've had the bronze test yesterday, free practice 1 and 2, no longer called pre-qualifying, although this session acts as a pre-qualifying grid-determining session if required, and then qualifying tomorrow morning. So probably this, the hottest period at which the cars will run, and it's not that dissimilar from the start of the race tomorrow, because it'll be an hour after this that the race gets underway. So the end of this session will be sort of comparable to the very first part of tomorrow's race, a 3-hour race with 3, not 2, mandatory pit stops. This isn't about chasing a time, it is about setup, it's about working through tyres, bedding in parts, all the different things that teams do. Already there's a yellow flag out, in fact, early in the lap at Marshall Sector 4, and whatever caused it has moved on. Green flag back on circuit then. David Anderson and Joe Osborne trackside, Bryn Lucas and Nina Jade Paul are in the pit lane for us, and the fastest car in the earlier session was Jules Gounon's Mercedes, the Verstappen.com Mercedes AMG entry, run by 2Cs, but it was only on the last lap as he took the checkered flag that Jules went fastest, taking the top time away from Dennis Lind in the Corvette, which was perhaps one of the big surprises of the session. But Dennis was modest enough and also thoughtful of the BOP enough to say, well, I've got a toe in every sector, so it wasn't all down to my right foot, all down to the car, with a bit of help from the toe. There is number 3 Mercedes, started as it was in FP1 by Danny Juncadella, but that was the quickest car in Jules Gounon's hands. It is Juncadella, Gounon and Chris Lullen. There you can see coming down towards the chicane Fabian Schiller's Mercedes. The rest of the cars all trying to find track position, trying to find a bit of clear track space as well. And there, Ferrari number 52, Mattia Zagazzetta, that had a loss of power towards the end of the earlier session, but good to have the AF Corsa car back on track. So as the field goes now through the Curva Grande up towards the second of the chicanes, we have, you can see the variety, McLaren, BMW and Ferrari. And the teams, after a slight delay to the session, about sort of 10 minutes or so delayed, eager to get on with the programme. And as I was saying, Joe, this not far away from the temperatures we're going to have at the start of the race tomorrow. I know that the race will start about an hour after this, but the end of the session should just about overlap with the first few laps of tomorrow's race.
Yeah, huge intel for the teams with this high track temp. Weather looking identical tomorrow, 54-degree track temp right now, ambient at 30 degrees. So they're going to be learning lots about their cars, about their tyres, sort of what they need to get out of this. And the drivers even maybe learning to manage that, maybe a tenth or two slower overlap just to keep the pressures and tyre temps in the window is a benefit. Hard to think to tell yourself as a driver that, but over a stint which could be 52 to 57 minutes, depending if there's a safety car involved, could pay dividends at the end of that run, basically. You can see the car's still trying to get some temperature, maybe cleaning the tyres up. That was the story, wasn't it, really, just going this morning about what was going on, how much gravel there was off track, of course.
Yeah, lots of interruptions that first session. We had 2 red flags, we had some full course yellows, and race control hoping that this is a little bit smoother.
It was difficult for him, wasn't it? We effectively had a red flag just for clearing the track with about half an hour to go, and like we said at the time, we've not seen that in a race. I'm not suspecting we would have it in a race, but showed you quite how much Detritus was getting dragged on, and really it was here, wasn't it? Ascari was the worst place. There was only one line through here. Something that wasn't the worst was this 24 Corvette leading with the lap done by Dennis Lind until the last moment where Jules Gounon had to ruin our fairy tale story and put the Verstappen.com car where it seems to always be at the sharp end. Another Dane aboard at the moment. This time it's Mikkel Mack. Used to seeing him, the Ferrari, works for the Formula Racing team in Denmark a lot. And I've worked alongside him on Ferrari Challenge weekends, really fast driver and has a lot of supporters as well. So maybe this is going to be a good start to his GT World Challenge career with Stella Motorsport this weekend.
Just going back to that point about how scrappy the first session was, although we talk about this as endurance and all the track time, 90 minutes free practice, 90 minutes free practice 2, divided by 3 drivers. You don't get that much mileage. So everybody comes out and really is on it straight away. Okay, some of the teams might well work through a programme and take their time about it, but others are throwing everything at it because in the grand scheme of things, there's not that much mileage before qualifying.
No, one of them being the Corvette. That last lap from Michael Mack put him 5th, now 6th. Look at the speed this thing's got over the Aston Martin in front. The Aston Martin looked like it was almost defending from us into that second chicane. And I wonder, again, we were trying to work out tyres that teams were using. Effectively, they've only got 2 sets of new tyres to use in the free practice this morning and now this one, and then 2 sets of used tyres from that. So there's going to be at some point a set of tyres on the car in this free practice. You would assume they've kept 1 new set just to get a driver their eye in. Will some teams do it at the start? Is that what we've just seen from Michael Mack? And will this Corvette drop? Or is that their used tyre pace? And we were seeing, I think, around a second to 1.1 seconds from used to new tyres this morning. Expect the same in this afternoon session.
It is Enrique Chavez in the Aston Martin that he's chasing. It is Guilherme Oliveira who has gone fastest in the Optimum McLaren. Back on board with Michael Mack out of the Ascari chicane. Speed building down towards the Parabolica. It's McLaren, Ford and Mercedes. Oliveira, Drouet, Thomas Drouet and then Lucas Auer, the top 3 right now. 90 minutes this session, last 4 on board with Mack. This is the Parabolica.
He's tucked up behind the Aston Martin, so can't get on the throttle too early because we're just running out of front-end grip from the dirty air of that Aston Martin. Where this is closer than we were last lap. I expect this to potentially be an overtake into turn 1. Slipstream kicking in now, and that shows you the pace. When we crossed the line last time around 1 minute 46 seconds ago, we were 4th, and now we're all the way down in 17th, and we don't have enough straight line speed to get past the Aston. And now Michael Mack's got to make the decision. Does he back out of this to try and find some space?
Another little battle on track here as well involving Lucas Auer. I don't think we saw very much, if anything, of Lukey in the first session, but it's going nicely now. That car 4th quickest. It tended to be largely Mauro Engel with a little bit of Lucas Stoltz, didn't it, in FP1? I'm pretty sure this really is the first time today, at least, that Lucas Auer has got on board, and he can't get past the Aston. Yeah,
he's trying to use that massive yellow Mercedes as a warning, isn't he? But now he backs out of it anyway, so he's almost calling his bluff. And yeah, Engel was in the car for 50 minutes this morning, seeming to get the car in a happy place. But Lucas Auer was the fastest driver on the Friday test, so he's had some mileage, but yeah, not today thus far. So this is his chance to get his feeling of what the car's like today for him.
Down towards the Resifilio comes Lucas Auer. You see other cars coming back into the session after a quick pit stop. 57 we have, and it's going to be a very, very busy race tomorrow. It's going to be a busy pit lane. Way up onto 2 wheels. There goes the first of the Mustangs. As we've just had the RJN McLaren go 2nd in the hands of Ben Dur. We've also had Front Pereira's Lamborghini go 4th. The Grasser Temerario looking a little bit more competitive this weekend.
Yep, I'd agree with that. They're getting mileage all the time, aren't they? That team running in DTM as well, so they're getting more mileage that way now on the Pirelli tyre as well, so it's all relevant data for them. Lilo Wadu 3rd with a purple. Sector 3 is impressive as we look at the 46 WRT car here with hometown hero Valentino Rossi looking super relaxed behind the wheel right now.
And as we keep saying, he is now Valentino Rossi GT driver, isn't he? He's not ex-motorbike racer, ex-motorbike world champion. You know, he's very much part of the GT fraternity, gets better all the time. He has decided to concentrate on the GT World Challenge program rather than adding WEC to it like last year, so he can concentrate on this type of racing, doesn't have to worry about prototypes around him, dive bombing him. He can be racing at the front, and he's got some new co-drivers, but certainly with Dan Harper as one of the drivers that he is with this year, and Matt Tesser, it is a very good combination. One thing Valentino has never been spoilt for, good co-drivers.
Yeah, he's always had a great bunch, and yeah, the hype around the paddock actually accidentally broke in near his motorhome yesterday, and there are hundreds of people waiting to see him, and I just happened to come across him as he was walking out of his motorhome somewhere I shouldn't have been, but he just loves it, engages with all the fans, and he's so focused on his racing. Every time we speak to him as he's getting out of the car, the passion he's got for motorsport that has been unnerving for so many years now. He just wants to keep going more and more.
Yeah, I was going to say the commitment as well, isn't it? It's not that he's had a go at GT racing for a couple of years. He's totally committed to this and wants to win titles in this as he did in motorbike racing in MotoGP. So there is Valle through the Ascari chicane. Ben Dur's RJN McLaren is the fastest in the session, incidentally. Speed building for Valentino Rossi then. This is coming out of the Ascari chicane, nudging 220 kilometres an hour as he comes towards the Parabolica. He's got one of the Boots and Porsches ahead, which looks like Robin Knudsen, who is desperate to do a racing lap this weekend. Crashed out at turn 1, not his own fault, at Paul Ricard. Was barged out of the way, lap 1 at Brands Hatch in sprint. So in 8 hours of racing thus far, he has not done a lap, Paul Robin Knudsen, and he is owed a good result, never mind wants one.
Yeah, some big damage as well, wasn't there, on that car? So the team working hard to get it back at the sharp end. As we can see, Rossi hard on the brakes, closing under braking. BMW always rides the curve well. Porsche normally gains on exit with the traction of where the engine is slung, and it is pulling away ever so slightly at the moment from Valentino. And at the moment, Valentino won't be happy with this, where the pace is of the 46. And maybe we're going to see this car box and maybe some setup work to do. This is your final chance ahead of qualifying, which is the first session of tomorrow.
Now, BMW was the winning brand here 2 years ago. Aren't we looking at BMW teams constructing an argument to the technical team and look at the BOP overnight, and then they come back much quicker for qualifying? Well, it's not beyond the realms of possibility because the teams want the fastest car, however it can be done. That's the current fastest car, and Ben Dur is bringing it down the pit lane. He shares Bob Neville's McLaren with Max Lynn, Alex Lynn's younger brother, and Horatio Fitzsimon, very quick, historic single-seater racer. So McLaren's 1 and 2, and then Nicholas Nielsen is now up into 3rd in number 51 Ferrari. Another of the very versatile Ferrari drivers, Nicholas Nielsen, of course, because he's part of the hypercar program, bidding in a couple of weeks' time for honours at Le Mans. He was the winner 2 years ago, of course, of the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Yeah, it's a good lap from Ben Dur to go fastest in this session, 46.3. It's only 3/10 quicker than Jules Gounon's lap this morning, but that 3/10 would have put him 11th if you put that time into FP1, so expect the times to tumble. Remember, we had 48 cars covered by 1 second this morning. That's how tight it was as Malikin goes across in that Purex Racing Porsche. Load of traffic in front of him, traffic everywhere. It doesn't matter where you seem to look. We've got 53 cars registering a lap time and 57 cars on track.
That's Tim Heinemann going up towards the timing line in the car that Rolf Ineiken put in the gravel in the earlier session. Joseph Loke was in strife in session 1 without a wheel at the first chicane, and although that car has gone out, it's not yet done a lap time. Thomas Priming's Porsche likewise. We never got to the bottom of number 80's travails in the first session, did we, with the line speed car? That stopped on track and had to be brought back, so Thomas Priming now having his first laps of the day. That's not yet done a lap time, nor is Daniele Diamato's Audi, nor Marco Mappelli's Lamborghini, the Rutronic car. So there are still things to look at, still things to slot into the plot as the session unwinds. There is Nicholas Nielsen.
So the 59, I was just looking at some of the penalties. So they actually got given a €1,000 fine, and they're only allowed to enter the track for free practice 2 10 minutes after the start.
Okay. And is that for the unsafe release with the wheel dropping off? So although the car had a wheel come off, the stewards have decided it was an unsafe release, because if you send a car into the session with a wheel that's not done up, then it's not safe. It's not just an unsafe release if you put it to the path of another car. It can be in a situation like that. So that's the penalty. So they've got to sit out the first part of the session, and now the car should be on track.
Exactly the same penalty for the 80 as well. So that's why that car stopped, and we didn't see the wheel off.
Okay.
Exactly the same penalty for them.
Right, in a way that's good news, because we were fearing it was power steering again, which they've had twice this year. So the fact that it was finger trouble on the wheel, that's frustrating, but at least it's not perhaps quite so annoying as it could have been.
On board here with Nielsen, and a lot of these drivers now jumping between GT3 machinery and hypercar machinery, and I was actually lucky enough to drive the Aston Martin hypercar last weekend. Seriously fast cars, of course, but they now feel like GT cars. They're quite heavy, and although they're very, very quick in the corners with the aerodynamics, you can see now why a driver like Nielsen, for example, is so fast in both. When they look so different from the outside, the driver is able to kind of copy and paste their styles into it. And of course, racecraft different with the dirty air being worse than a hypercar, but these GT3 cars now so aero dependent, you're kind of getting a similar feel at times.
So down to the chicane here comes 007 Aston Martin, which was up and down the order quite a bit in the earlier session. It's Nicky Tim at the wheel of it at the moment as you look at the midpoint of the Curva Grande. 74 Ferrari is Lorenzo Petresi at the wheel right now.
It's a fair amount just going through all the penalties, just doing some admin here. There's some quite significant ones. For example, Angus Whiteside, the Dynamic GT, the 54 car, they got done for improving their sector time under a yellow flag. And they've actually got a 10-place grid penalty for the race already. So although it's only free practice, the jeopardy follows you hard. And Frederick Schandorf got a penalty for loosening his belts, €1,000 fine and 1 behavioural warning point. So
things like that, somebody of his experience, you wouldn't expect him to do, would you?
It's difficult as a driver. I'm always going to defend. There's different regulations, series to series. Frederick and IMSA, maybe they get away with it a bit more. Maybe it was just a lapse of concentration. Always feel like as you're trying to defend yourself when you're guilty, it's like, well, no one got hurt, right? Slap on the wrist, but €1,000. And you've got to remember that SRO always pull the money up, and at the end of the season, that money is donated to charity. So the numbers are large for the fines, but the cause is good.
True enough. So there, 24 Corvette, Nickel Max still at the wheel of it, going through. And comes down now towards the Parabolica. This is on board with the Mustang once again. Relatively clear road ahead.
There's such an aggressive engine tone in this, and the vibration, it's a V8, but it's a flat plane crank. So the vibration in this car is huge. And they have had some problems, Corvette, with that, but they seem to have got on top of it. A brand that's obviously been so successful in American Le Mans Series, now in IMSA at ACO level, and SRO GT3 is getting there, and it was so refreshing to see it at the sharp end this morning, finishing second in FP1, now back up to 7th. Nickel Mac new to the car this weekend, so unsurprisingly getting some more laps. This is the apex at T1, and maybe time to come in for a tyre pressure adjustment as well. The tyres will be coming up all the time with this high track temp we've got here.
Well, your best bronze at the moment, Rolf Inaiken's car. And we'd seen Tim Heinemann behind the wheel of it a little earlier. So the Ferrari that Inaiken had a spin in. He's been an experienced GT racer, go back a few years Lamborghinis. Prior to that, he came out of the German Porsche Cup, the Carrera Cup Deutschland. And Rolf Inaiken coming back into the championship this season with the Bio-Circle livery on the side of the car that often adorned Franz Conrad's cars, but up towards the timing line he now comes.
Should he not have the purple flashing light on the rear of that car? Just used to seeing the bronze graded drivers having those purple flashing lights, and could just be an issue of the team not trying to get them a penalty. Just that's always such an easy indication for us and the viewer to know it's a bronze graded driver, but it's put there to let the other pros know that is the bronze in the car.
Well, Rolf Inaiken these days is graded silver.
Oh, okay, so that's right. That's credit to him. I thought the bronze graded driver and also the light doesn't have an issue. Good news all round. Yeah,
Thomas Kiefer is their bronze, new to the team this weekend. That's the JMW run Ferrari. And touring car engineer Spencer Aldridge overseeing this from the pit lane. He's got there the McLaren tucked up behind him, has Rolf Inaiken, which is the Optimum car now with Mikey Porter at the wheel.
Yeah, he's hustling on Mikey, very fast young British driver, and Optimum on top of this McLaren, got a very fast car underneath them. There's quite a big inter-team McLaren battle, it feels, brewing at the moment to see who is top dog between those teams. You'd say CSA Garage 59, Optimum up there, but then also RJN knocking on the door, and New Boys Greystone GT involved as well.
This is Marco Mappelli, who has yet to do a lap time. Did Rutronic get a penalty in the earlier session as well? Question mark. Down towards Parabolica he comes then. Stands on the brakes. Big squeak from the brakes. Goes into the corner. That didn't sound healthy to me. Don't expect cars to make that sort of noise, do you?
Sounds like a pre-war car, didn't it, under the brakes? It's, yeah, we're talking about this Lambo getting up to speed in its development, and can't believe that's the right noise the brakes should be making. I've never had a more GT car make that noise, but straight line performance looks good. Look at this, we can get to 270k, just 268 hard on the brakes. Again, the noise there, so it's obviously not an issue, it's a feature, not a fault. And car going round the corner well, and Mapelli obviously hugely experienced with the brand, but also here at Monza. And the car balance looking better round after round, but still just so used to their previous generation Huracan always being at the sharp end. We're still adjusting to this new twin-turbo V8 car.
I can't see anything as a penalty for that from the first session, so I think they've just been doing some in and out laps, but they've lost effectively 10 minutes, which sort of tallies with the others.
Yeah, it started the last session, didn't it? Smoking. Do you remember Niederhaus went straight through the second chicane, but it carried on, so again, it seemed to be a feature, not a fault of the car, but yeah, maybe not using as much curb as we're seeing from others, so just trying to get the dampers in the window. There's always a battle with the damper setting, so important as the part of suspension. You want it stiff for performance, but then slightly softer for curb usage. So there's always a play at which end of the scale you go with those dampers.
Rattles it into and out of the Ascari chicane. Marco Mapelli, who's been another loyal servant to the Lamborghini brand over the years. One of a quirky list of European drivers who is a former Australian Formula 3 champion. The Australian Formula 3 championship was never the strongest numerically, but brought some interesting champions through the list. And again, big squeak as he gets to the end of the back straight there.
Sounds like I'm whipping a pig. I can't describe the noise any
Listen,
better.
what you do in your spare time is entirely up to you. I'm not your therapist. You don't have to tell me about it. Mapelli out towards the line. This will be his first flying lap of the session. And where does it put him? Well, not much, really, does that do. 53rd out of 57 cars. So it's a start-up lap, shall we call it, rather than a proper flying lap.
Yeah. And you ride on board and it looks okay because we're only looking for 1.4 seconds. That's the gap to pole. And when we break 6 times a lap, that's losing, what, 2.5 tenths a brake zone. It's nothing. And that's why visually it can look okay, but then when you cross the line, you are nowhere.
There is the Ziggo Sport Tempesta Porsche, which is the returning Jonathan Hui, along with Chris Froggatt and Eddie Cheever this weekend.
And he does have the purple light flashing, indicating the bronze graded driver.
So that's Jonathan Hui, who, apart from racing GT cars, has quite a nice collection of not that old Formula 1 cars. He's a McLaren fan, for example, and Jonathan Hui, good to have him back in the championship. Chris Froggatt, Eddie Cheever, the other 2 drivers, and further proof of Porsche's increased numbers here in GT3 this year.
They've become our dominant manufacturer, haven't they? Really sort of taken over from Audi, then from Mercedes, and Hui backing out of this, trying to find some space. And that shows you how good his pace is, that he is getting held up by cars in front of him. It's the Boots and VBS Porsche, isn't it? Which is a great car to follow as an AM. You could always try and find a car that is the same, and you can see what they're doing and then try and copy and paste into real life.
Yeah, one of the Boots and Porsches is in the pit lane, Maurice Schuring's car, and the other, which was Robin Knudsen at the start of the session, has now gone the way of Gilles Magnus. So there, skipping over the curbs, is Jonathan Hui, and that car, as Joe was saying, with a bronze-graded driver, automatically goes into the Bronze Cup, where it's got a good chance of success tomorrow.
It really does, isn't it? Like you said, Froggatt has been fast, been racing well. Cheever, ever adaptable, and yeah, just as we were getting used to calling it the Sky Tempesta Ferrari, it's now gone to Ziggo Sport, and yeah, they've gone across the brands, but I think they've made a pretty clever decision with settling with Porsche for this season.
Josh Rowledge at Paradigm in the blue BMW, the second of the cars out of the Simon Traves, Darren Lung stable. Josh Rowledge making his debut with the team, another driver that's done good things in McLarens and Ginettas, but coming into GT3. And he'll be one to watch, I think, over the course of the weekend. It's an intriguing driver lineup, that, because there's not only Josh, you've got Christian Hahn, who drove at Paul Ricard, and Bobby Thompson, who most recently has been racing in the British Touring Car Championship when his meagre funds allow. Good driver coach is Bobby, but it's good to have him on the grid, and hopefully this might kickstart a career that people talk about because he's got a lot of talent, but doesn't go anywhere because he hasn't got very much money. There's no family money. Dad's a plumber, so there's not huge budgets to throw at the racing, so it's good that he's found a berth here this weekend.
Yeah, and yeah, I know Josh well, really nice lad, come through the McLaren ranks. We've worked together, and he's going to be very, very quick. And interestingly, could see someone getting in the way from the pit wall saying to come in. So someone's got a radio failure. I don't think it was this parodying car, because they're at the start of pit lane. Josh going in a bit deep there. Still got the Corvette out there as well of Mikkel Mack. So he's been out there for nearly half an hour, and we'll get to see there a bit of snap of oversteer from the Garage 59 car, the 58 one there, coming out the second chicane.
Yeah, and the Aston behind it having a big slide as well. So we haven't had quite so many trips through the gravel, but you can see that some has been dragged back onto the circuit there over in the Lesmo Benz. Josh Rowley then going down towards the Ascari chicane and putting to one side, I think, letting the quicker traffic go. So 992, 36th in the times at the moment. That is running in silver. The sister car, Darren Lung's car, runs in bronze. Right, Mikkel Mack is still behind the wheel of the Corvette, isn't he? Doing a long run here. This is a 90-minute session. We're nearly at the end of the first third of it, the first half an hour. And it's been calmer than the first session.
Yeah, maybe it was just a bit of morning rage that's been dissipated now. We're in the late afternoon. It's too hot to be angry now, isn't it? It's time,
right.
It's time for sleeping.
Point time for a gin and tonic. As the session progresses, let us go to the pit lane. Bryn Lucas has found one of the drivers of this car, Fabian Schiller, number 17 Mercedes. Let's hear from Fabian with Bryn.
Well, just off of or back from your great victory at the Nürburgring 24 Hours, and you were throwing the car over the curbs a bit, we're noticing. Is that something you brought over from the Nürburgring? Is that how you get the most out of the car here?
Well, I mean, the two chicanes here in Monza is pretty specific with the curb riding. And no, it looks very spectacular, but in the car it doesn't feel as bad. But yeah, it's obviously two fun parts of the track.
We've dealt with a lot of high temperatures here this weekend, and this one seems to be representative of what it's going to be like tomorrow, midway through the race. Is there any setup change? How do you focus on getting the car ready for what might be changing conditions?
Well, obviously we have free practice 1 this morning and then free practice 2 this afternoon at similar times as tomorrow's program with qualifying and the race. You obviously go through your program and trying to find what's best for the morning, what's better for the afternoon, but so far our car has been running pretty well, and we didn't have to do too many adjustments to match the different conditions. So yeah, so far just going through the program. Maxi's doing a little bit of a longer run now. I did a little bit of a shorter run at the beginning now. But yeah, we're going through our program and trying to prep as good as possible for tomorrow.
So far P6, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job by Fabian Schiller, who's always a very, very good qualifier. And in terms of curb usage, that's not riding the curbs, that's using them as a ramp. That's a launch.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk will sign him up for a SpaceX project with the air he's getting there. And yeah, I think he probably did a set of new tyres, because his first run did 6 laps, 47.0 as his best. Then he boxed, came back out and went 4.5 tenths quicker and only did 3 laps. So not quite enough pace that he would have wanted, but too much, I think, for anything else than new tyres. So yeah, I think as where he is on the timing order as well, that's probably a new tyre run for that car.
There's a yellow flag at Marshall Centre 7, incidentally, which will be... Oh, there it is, car in the gravel.
Razu Porsche, I think.
Yeah, you're right. So that will be Georgios Kolovos at the wheel. And that's number 9, which is... looks like it stops in the pit lane.
Yeah, pit exit. It was the opposite than this morning. They got caught doing 80 kilometres an hour, so we get a red flag for this Porsche in pit lane. But yeah, Alex Malikin got done for 80 kilometres an hour in pit lane when it should be 50. So that was a €1,500 fine.
Yeah, 80 is what you can do on track. But yeah, red flag, clock will carry on ticking. And the...
Oh, there's a fire on the Purex car, so I can just see out the commentary box. They've popped the bonnet. There's a fire in the front of it.
Let me just confirm, it's not Dad, it's Lad, it's Stellanios Kolovos, the bronze-graded driver in the Porsche that is in the gravel. But there, yes, Alex Malikin. Ah, yes, I agree. I found him out of our window as well. The fire extinguisher there.
The fuel tank is there in the Porsche. I'd assume they've refueled, sent it out, and maybe a breather has popped off or a split. But top team running Purex Racing, it wouldn't be a fuel spillage that they've sent, but Malikin's done well there. I wonder what the signal was that something wasn't right, because there was no visible smoke when we first cut to it. But he's done very well, because if that car was out on track, there wouldn't have been the marshals to respond. You can see the firefighting truck in the back. So bad few minutes for Porsche.
But this car being in the gravel and causing a red flag has almost given them a bit of help in a sense, hasn't it? Because with nobody allowed to leave the pit lane, it's not quite the panic that it would have been to get there and put a blaze out with lots of cars going past to pit exit. So the session notionally continues, albeit we now have this red flag, and that car that you're looking at needs to be removed, obviously, but also the other Porsche of Alex Malikin will need to be removed from where it is in the pit lane, so that can be made safe for cars to leave. And this might be an opportunity for a bit of sweeping to go on elsewhere as well.
Yeah, it's always interesting when they raise the car. We saw the Ferrari earlier, didn't we? The JMW was really nose heavy for a mid-engine car. Porsche with the engine in the rear, but surprisingly to me, in the midpoint. Of course, the harness point is important where it balances, but what a great idea this is, just plugging straight into the top of the roll cage. No more having to drag things through the gravel. Does feel weird as an adult being swung around when you're wearing effectively a big onesie. What happens here? Just snaps on him. So he hits that first curb and launches him. He's going to come back into shot now as he just rubs gently along the barrier. Damage-wise, should be okay. Maybe lost the left-hand mirror at worst, but should be able to drop that car on track and let that car get back to pit lane under its own steam.
So there is 914 then, being hoiked out of the gravel.
There is Malikin.
Yeah. So he's okay, but he will be very frustrated about that as he trudges away.
Luckily for him, his garage is only 7 from the end, so he hasn't got to walk too far back in this very much midday heat. And there's the drone shot. So he hit the curb on the left too hard. The car bottomed out. Maybe too much steering lock as well as the car lands. You always want to try and be as straight as you can on the steering wheel to let it take a set. So try and listen in here. All pretty relaxed. Can't give you any insight because I don't speak Italian, unfortunately, but they definitely sound calm. Nonetheless, Nilsson getting out of the car, and he seems in a good place with it. No big hand gestures to show any imbalance with the car. 914's actually left the crime scene as well, so we could be getting back underway in the next 3 to 4 minutes, I suspect.
Yeah, car's still coming into the pit lane. Of course, under red flag conditions, it's a very long, slow in-lap, isn't it? So if you're at the end of the queue, you haven't got much time in the pit lane before we go green again. The Malikin Porsche, though, has not yet been removed. That's 914 out of the gravel and
going too fast.
Going at a fair old pace, yes.
We said it this morning, didn't we? The amount of times you cause the red and then don't realise under red flag the regulation stipulates you must be doing 80k. So unfortunately, I think we're going to see a penalty for 914 for not adhering to the 80k limit under red.
Hopefully the team would be on the radio saying, chill, just slow, 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 but it is not a slow car. Right, let's find out about number 9 Porsche. Max Hofer, I think, is with Bryn.
Yeah, it's thanks for speaking to us. I know it's frustrating for you. You almost got out there. Can you tell us what the telltale signs were, what you noticed? Because we couldn't spot anything from the outside of the car.
We just did a normal pit stop, which is quite a normal procedure. I just went to the fast lane. Suddenly there was a pop coming from the front bonnet. Immediately there was fire noticeable. We don't know any further information, so we need to check what happened there.
So there was no sign of anything when the keys were handed over to you, so to speak?
No. There was no issue before. As I went out of the pit or fast lane into the fast lane, some issue appeared suddenly.
That aside, how has the car been running generally? Has it been okay here at Monza so far?
Car balance is good, so I think we're in the window. So Porsche, I don't know if it's a good track around here normally, but feeling-wise we're quite competitive. Let's see tomorrow. You can't say anything till tomorrow morning anyways.
Let's hope it's a simple fix. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
So Max Hofer then, it was, who was in the car. He was ready to leave the pit lane. It must have been Alex Malikin that brought it in, and it hadn't tripped the driver ID. So the name in the car was not quite right because it was about 3 cars lengths away from the timing beam. Now, those cars in the fast lane, I'm not entirely sure they've got permission to be there, but equally, because the fast lane has not yet been declared open, but equally, if they were ready to leave the pits and when the red light came on, they were a bit stuck, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it was the latter. The Optimum car for sure was there because it just went red.
Right, yeah.
And I think the Mustang behind that, I'm sure, was similar. But yeah, they've been bleeding track tyre temp, haven't they, of course, over the last 5 to 6 minutes.
we talked Ferraris a minute ago. Nicholas Nielsen is with Nina J. Paul.
Niklas, you're not even sweating. We saw you having a word with your teammates as you hopped out of the car. What was the feedback?
I mean, now it's basically just down to the fine-tuning before quali. So we have a few things that we would like to have fixed before. And yeah, now, like I said, we're trying some minor stuff to get ready for tomorrow morning.
What have you learned out there so far today?
Yeah, first of all, it's very hot. But nevertheless, you know, it's always nice coming here, especially after the new asphalt has been laid on, because there is so much grip out there and it's very, very enjoyable. So that's also what makes it a bit tricky, because the car is always more or less in a very good window, and I think it's the same for all the manufacturers. So like I said, it's coming down to the very small details on car balance.
Well, good luck today.
Thank you.
We are a couple of minutes away from the session getting back underway. It's giving the teams a chance, if they've just received the car, to do something to them. But Nicholas Nielsen talking about just fine-tuning ready for tomorrow. He's been a revelation, hasn't he, since he came out of Ferrari Challenge. He was always good in the Ferrari Challenge, but to go through the ranks as quickly through GT cars and into hypercar and to be a Le Mans winner, that's impressive.
Really is, and yeah, very highly thought of, obviously within the ranks of Ferrari, and another fast Danish GT driver. For a small country, they churn them out, don't they? We saw Dennis Lind, Mikkel Mack up there already in the Stella Corvette, so we now have the full Danish Ferrari as well from Selected Racing, Frederick Schandorf, really the lead driver aboard that car.
Yeah, for a relatively small country, Denmark's produced a lot of very, very good racing drivers, a bit like New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah. The weirder one with Denmark is actually the lack of racetracks. I've been to Padborg Park, for example, which is smaller than any racetrack I would have likened to in the UK, for example. So yeah, they've done a mega job. And whenever you go to Le Mans, whenever you find someone in the crowd that looks a bit leery, they're always Danish.
Yeah. Long may it continue.
Yeah, I said that as a positive, by the way. Please don't take that as a negative. I wish I was one.
That's our ambassador to Denmark, Joe Osborne. Right, so the fans are having a breather as we get set with 30 seconds on the clock now before we get the session back underway. We've lost about 10 minutes or so with this interruption, but you can see how many teams now are keen to get back out there. So the fast lane opens. Others are going to have to sort of elbow their way into the queue. Charles Dawson, Kean Jewis, Reece Bars, Mercedes. And before we go into the session, let's catch up with Joseph Loke. His car lost a wheel this morning, but Bryn is with him.
Just about to ask you a question. We have to get moved for tyres coming through. It's been a bit stop-start. It was earlier on. I know you had the issue with the wheel coming off, which is suboptimal, as we call it. But how's this session gone? How's the car looking? And how are you feeling?
To be honest, we don't really know. I think the car's in an okay window. We're not quite where I'd want to be completely honest. I think we're still fine-tuning things. We're not a million miles away for sure. I think we'll be good by qualifying. But yeah, we just have absolutely no idea where we are in comparison to the rest of the grid.
What do you think you can do, though, to find this extra 2 tenths, 3 tenths, whatever it is you're looking for?
Well, I mean, in driving, there's quite a bit. I had quite a scruffy run then. Not saying that there's like half a second, but there's definitely a little bit in me, for sure. But I don't know. I mean, we've got to look through everything. Like, I couldn't tell you one answer that's going to put us on pole tomorrow. But right now, you know, I feel pretty confident going in.
It's a good place to be. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The answer might be a toe. I mean, we're hearing the importance of that from people. So it could be that if Joseph Loke, or one of his co-drivers, does get a toe, that could be the key to it. Actually, they're going to need one each, aren't they? Because we're back to the combined average of the times.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really difficult. And the toe is mega until it's awful, when it turns awful, when the dirty air stops you performing through the corner. So it's very difficult. You need a lot of luck to basically slingshot past someone without losing any lap time whatsoever. But yeah, nice frank interview from Joseph Loke there, and saying his lap was scrappy, just over 4 tenths off fastest. So I'm sure he knows where some of that time is within his own pocket.
Number 10 Porsche is Gilles Magnus at the wheel of it, and there's one of the Optimum McLarens heading down towards the Parabolica. Ford Mustang behind, more front-engined weapons, Aston Martin, then Mercedes AMG, then rear-engine, the Porsches, mid-engine Ferraris. They're getting themselves sort of in pairs here. Then you go to a bit more variety. McLaren, Aston Martin, BMW, Porsche up towards the timing line here. Mustang booms past, lights are flashing. Not the car ahead on track necessarily, but those coming out of the pit lane, just to say, keep to your line, I am on a mission. And that was number 64 Mustang going through. So that car sprints out of the chicane. It's the Arjun Maini, Fabio Scherer, Thomas Drouet car. And that went well this morning, and currently with Fabio Scherer at the wheel, 22nd, the Scherer Group big car dealership in Germany. And switching to the Mustang run by Hubert Haupt's team for this year. And the progress, I think, they're probably feeling is a bit slower than they would like, but it is at least going in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's a big change from where they were at Mercedes, which is really a turnkey car. The car has a huge snap of oversteer, turn in. Did well to catch that one. I thought it was going to be one of those sort of high side ones where you put the opposite lock in, and unfortunately it sends you off there. But yeah, going from Mercedes to Ford, working with Multimatic, the Evo that's come here. There's quite a lot of work on the Evo. The front dive planes, for example, are brand new. So watch this. We turn in, and suddenly the rear of the car goes loose now, and that takes us off the line onto the dirt. And does really well to gather it up, because I thought Scherer there was going to go across the gravel, but that will be something for the team to look at. Potentially a bit more rear wing would save that, or is the suspension too stiff? It's not allowing the car to squat. Rear anti-roll bar change may be coming, but yeah, the Evo's added those front dive planes. You see the carbon flicks on the corners around the Pirelli stickers, giving more front downforce. Different wheel apparently is a big change as well, letting more heat out of it, so keeping the brakes in a better window. But yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed that this Ford and HRT keep getting faster.
Well, Fabio Scherer goes over the line. No improvement on that lap time. The 914 Razzoon Porsche, by the way, Stelanios Kolovos that calls the red flag. That's still in the pit lane as they try and get any gravel out of it and give it a check. And the same is true of the Hofer Porsche. Right, you're on board with Fabio Scherer. Let's have a look at all the dials and have a lap round Monza. Joe Osborne is your guide.
So 272 was our VMAX into turn one. Speed keeps rising. We should get to 255, 260k, sixth gear, and then we'll be hard on the brakes. Third gear for most of the cars here. Probably second in the Mustang. Slightly longer ratios, it seems. Hard on the throttle, out of the second part of the chicane. This is the corner we had the snap of oversteer. So let's see if we're more tentative with the brake pressure on the way in. We hook up the apex perfectly this time. Hard on the throttle, short straight into Lesmo, up to 195k, small brake, third gear, apex speed 130 kilometers an hour once more. There's a lot of these mid-speed corners here at Monza, so same at the Scari. Our minimum probably is around 130, but before that we're way back up, 265k's, braking at 150 meters, hard on the brakes, lots of curb on the left. This is where all the gravel gets dragged on. Huge snap of oversteer, using all the curb and more onto this last straight into turn 11, Parabolica. Look at all the cars in front. Space is okay, might look busy, but for a racing driver, that's plenty of real estate. Just short, late brake, 100 meters or even later to get the car into this quirky corner at Parabolica. Another big snap of oversteer. It's exactly what we saw at Lesmo 1 a couple of laps ago. This car unable to trail the brake in, so you're unable to brake and turn, it seems, at the moment for the Mustang. That will be an area of concern for driver and team. But the straight line speed performance of this Mustang is definitely one of its strengths. So look at this, we're going to get 272 again potentially here. Hard on the brakes, biggest stop of the lap, 210 kilometers an hour, needs to be knocked off, bash, over the curb. You can see how much energy is put through, but the car stays so flat, so level, which really allows the driver to maximize corner cutting. Of course, keeping it as legal as possible. One wheel always on the track, touching the white line is the rule. And we've got quite a lot of areas of concern that are monitored here, and one of them is here on the left here at turn 5 as well. As you can see, the car exiting all over the curb in the background as we jump a couple of cars forward to the Optimum McLaren car number 5 at the moment. Dante Raponge in the car. Third overall, it was Oliveira, did the lap very early on in this session, but the car is staying there at the moment. And Dante Raponge, speaking with Jamie Ward, team manager Optimum, absolutely loving working with the Dutchman. He's been super fast and his feedback has been very well received.
Interesting order in terms of brands, isn't it? And again, what do you read into a free practice session? But McLaren, Audi, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, Audi. That's the order up at the pointy end right now. Slowest car, Porsche, but that's because it's been in the gravel. And prior to that, it's an Aston Martin at the other end of the times. Aaron Muss is new to Monza, learning about everything. As you see here, number 5, then Dante Raponge at the wheel. I've seen him for a number of seasons in GT4 in the Chevrolet Camaro that he used to race in that, as did his brother Job. But Dante Raponge then up towards the line. He's been very good in the BMW M2 Benelux Championship, runner-up in that in the past as well. So goes by. Dante Raponge still third fastest. Another car to watch, I think, now is going to be number 51 Ferrari, because we've had a stint from Nicholas Nielsen. They've now put Alessio Rovera into that car. Rovera is always a hero, so the Roman should be one to watch for sure. Another graduate of Porsche racing before he went to Ferrari. More dust in replay being kicked up over at the Lesmo Benz. And there into the Ascari chicane is Marvin Kirchhofer. Chasing after him is number 98 BMW, that at the moment is a long way back in the hands of Raffaele Marciello, 34th. But again, you just get the feeling, don't you, that the BMWs are having either a gentle day and are going to come out fighting tomorrow, or they are trying to play the system, because they should not be as far down as they are. The first BMW was 27th in the times. I know it's free practice, I know we're not looking at qualifying times, but I can't imagine that when we get through qualifying we're going to be looking down a page at BMWs rather than up at the top of it.
Yeah, and like I said earlier in the show, this is your last chance before qualifying. The next time you drive the car as a driver, suddenly the music stops and the pressure ramps up massively. Free practice to qualifying is a huge jump forward, and at the moment that's what BMW need. They need a huge jump forward pace-wise, as we see someone dropping it on the exit here, and that's a strange one. That was on the way into Lesmo 2, the Lamborghini there, just dropping a wheel. We see that a lot at the second chicane in the Ascari, but I wonder if that's an issue with the car under braking. It's maybe gone left there, because with the drivers aboard the car, we're definitely not used to seeing issues like that. And that was Marco Mappelli behind the wheel at the time of that.
He doesn't often do things like that, does he? So a quirky one. 43 minutes of the session still to go as there Marciello turns through, making the run again in pursuit of the McLaren. More dust hangs in the air. But Marciello's lap time, again here, not really pulling up trees, is it?
No, they're metronomically consistent, which is good for the race, but unfortunately that consistency isn't a fast-paced either, so they're all quite grouped together, aren't they? 35th for this guy, we're looking Charles Wirtz, and then Harper, Hesse and Rossi, 46th car behind them in 37th. And yeah, it doesn't really seem to be igniting. So at the moment, BMW will be going to the drawing board.
Or to the technical team saying, look at all this data. I mean, we're just not quick enough. You need to give us a leg up here. We'll see. Marciello up towards the end of the lap, improved in the middle sector compared to his previous laps. Goes as close to the apex as he can. 2 wheels over the white line, breaks the beam, and goes up to 9th fastest, so that was worth the effort, and that's the best we've seen out of BMW all day. That's only 0.3 off the top time. Yeah,
it kind of came out of nowhere, that lap, after we were watching him from the outside, and this is his 5th lap of a run, so potentially had new tyres at the start of this run, but they're definitely past their peak now. But finally, the BMW getting inside the top 20, and it was previously James Kellett was the fastest BMW driver, all the way down in 29th.
That's Cian Jewis, reigning British GT champion, along with Charles Dawson in the 2Cs car going into the pit lane. Cian, Carrera Cup GB champion. They had a season or so out of racing because he hadn't got any funding, but was brought back with Charles Dawson last year. He was mightily impressive, I thought, in British GT. He didn't seem to get much plaudits for it, but he was regularly able to take on and go quicker than the likes of Maxi Goertz. So Cian Jewis really, for my money, proved himself to be very, very special last year, but he's done his stint for now, gets out of the car, and I think Charles Dawson may well be taking over. There, number 60 Ferrari that we were looking at the very start of the session, back out and running, and that car still being shown as having Rolf Ineichen behind the wheel. And let's have a look at who's fastest in what class in terms of individual lap times. Nicholas Nielsen is the best in Pro. The best in gold is Andrea Frasinetti. The best in silver is Ben Doer. And Tim Heinemann in that green and white Ferrari is the fastest of the bronze drivers thus far.
So all the classes within 4/10, and actually silver fastest from gold, from Pro, from bronze. So that's not normally the order we expect, but still with 40 minutes remaining, I expect the pace to start to pick up towards the end of this session, like it did in free practice 1, where cars put some new tyres on potentially later on, and we may see the fastest lap time at the moment that was set by Ben Doer and the RJM McLaren start to tumble towards the end.
So this is Frasinetti, who is third in the times and the fastest, or he was the fastest in gold, but now Dennis Lind has gone ahead of him in class. So number 24 Corvette doing good things, but Frasinetti in the Audi. It's not quite a car that you expect to see in the GT3 Revival Series, but, you know, Audi's R8 has been around through different manifestations for so many seasons, and yet they're still plug and play.
Yeah.
They still deliver.
Yeah, so I'd effectively call this the 5th generation R8. You had the previous model car as we do the second iteration of the chicane here with Frasinetti. He had the BMW all around him as we get a look at the slow-mo here. A bit of debris being thrown up in front of him. He's going to have to run over on the apex of turn 2. The BMW behind, able to use the apex slightly better.
So Frasinetti back on track. He's gone up the escape road, changed track position. He's behind one of the Lion Speed Porsches there, which we've not really seen the best out of yet. Confirmation of that car having been at the escape road. There is Dennis Lind then, the Corvette, second in the times. He was a bit of a hero, as we were saying earlier on in the day, in FP1. But let's see what he can do in this session. Thomas priming in 80 Lion Speed Porsche still. He was at the start of the session. He's still driving that grey Brands Hatch winning in sprint Porsche. This is Lind. So Dennis Lind always goes well around Monza, and if you think I'm sounding like a Dennis Lind fan, I am. I hold my hands up to it. I still think he's a great character, and we haven't seen enough of him in competitive cars for too long.
Yeah, I agree. We were teammates for one weekend, JP Motorsport, McLaren, and
that's right.
Lind staying in second at the moment. So it's Lind versus Dorr, isn't it, for first place at the moment. And Lind, the lap before was purple sector 3, so Corvette going well through the final sector. And he still pushing on, but it looks like maybe the car just dropping away as his last lap was 0.3 slower than the lap before.
British GT champion Dennis Lind, Blancpain Asia as it then was champion Dennis Lind, was for a time a Lamborghini factory driver. Then they had a bit of a reset, jettisoned a few people, including Dennis, sadly, and he struggled really to find a drive, given his grading as Platinum, ever since. But you ignore him at your peril, and he's, I think, a good guy to have for Stella, because he'll motivate the team, he'll work with them, and he's got bags of experience as well as speed. Yeah,
I think why we actually got on quite well as teammates is you just say the truth. There's no sugarcoating. You say this isn't great, maybe with a stronger adjective than great, and you just get to the bottom of it. And sometimes it's hard with race teams, as we see a Ferrari jumping across the grass, rejoining safely the 52A, of course, Ferrari.
That was Jeff Machiels over at the Ascari chicane. So that car rally crossing its way back onto the circuit. 37 minutes of the session to go. How did he get there? Well, we're first of all going to see a moment for number 21 Aston, all the way through the gravel.
The day aboard that, I think, at the time.
Right, okay, not a good day. Back on track, and then Jeff Machiels thought that looks fun, and others did the same thing.
Didn't realise we had Joker laps here at Monza.
Quite. Ferrari just arrived early. Probably couldn't see the apex with all the dust. That was the Anthony Bartone Mercedes, wasn't it, that was kicking up some of the dirt, but that got away with it, and then Machiels through the gravel as well. But again, we keep talking about what might happen in the race. If people are doing things like that, and there's then a long battle coming into the chicane, and there's dust, and you can't see your braking point, can't see the apex, it's going to be quite leery.
Yeah. I wonder if just so much dust got brought on by the original Aston going off under the brake zone that you lose 1 or 2% braking efficiency because of that, and everyone else followed suit. But to have 3 cars off within 6-7 seconds, there's got to be some kind of issue under braking there.
So Race Direction will have a look. They've got isolated cameras for the corners. They'll have a look and see if there is anything down on the tarmac, whether there's any liquid, for example. I don't believe there is. It's probably just people making mistakes and bringing the gravel on. So number 3, we've not really had a lot to talk about for this car in this session. They've been quietly working through their programme. Chris Lullen has been doing some driving, so now Danny Juncadella back behind the wheel. But it's a long way down, 32nd in the times, which makes me think they're running to a plan here, and perhaps not wanting to throw new tyres at it.
Yeah, or they're going to do what they did in FP1, leave it to the last minute to put the new tyres on and jump up the order like they did this morning. Maybe in a race run right now, just cycling through Juncadella, trying to find space as he came into Lesmo 1. There really isn't much to work with. He'd actually have to let the 4 or 5 cars behind him, and there's a big gap behind that Herberth Porsche. And again, that's what the engineers will be going. Sometimes as a driver, you kind of have to ask the question, where is the space? The engineers looking at their laptops think you're in a good bit of space, but they sometimes don't appreciate the car in front is slow, or you need bigger gap than what it looks like on the screen. So driver-engineer relationship so pivotal and all done over radio. And it's amazing how hard it is to communicate in a loud race car where you only got audio, you don't have the visual, you don't get to look them in the eye, you don't get the body language. And that's why sometimes we hear some very stressed drivers talking to their engineers in not a particularly polite fashion.
So this session, 34 minutes still to go. And it's number 23, the RJN McLaren, Bob Neville's plucky team, still at the top of the times. It's almost good numerically. It's 23 from 24 because the Dennis Lind, now Mikkel Mack Corvette, second. And Dylan Pereira has taken over number 99 Audi in his third, as you see the different lines through the Roger chicane, many of which include curbs. One or two in the pit lane, cycling through stops for now. And 34 minutes to go. Well, we've been saying what a star Dennis Lind is. The time we heard from the man himself, isn't it? Nina Jade Paul has got hold of Dennis the Menace.
Funnily enough, I just spoke with Dennis and he said he's not a huge fan of Monza, but he's absolutely flying out there. What do you put your pace down to?
Well, I don't really know because the balance wasn't as good as I had it in the first practice. It seems like the temperature is a lot hotter now, so it's a little bit more difficult to get the tires working in the window you want. Like, they get really hot really quickly, and obviously the brakes are also a problem, but it's the same for everyone. But no, I think we have a really stable setup, and the team is doing a good job, so let's hope we stay there for qualifying as well.
How are you feeling about qualifying? Must be feeling quite confident.
Yeah, well, it's well challenged, so you never know what happens and what people are doing. But no, I'm confident, like much better than Paul Ricard for sure. It seems in general we're in a better window with the car. We're happier where it is now, and yeah, I mean, we can only see what happens after Q3 tomorrow, but I'm quite confident at the moment, yeah.
Thanks, Dennis. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Good character, Dennis Lind, as we've been saying. It's good to have him in a competitive car. Sean Galile there pitting, and they've got an Aston that's had a spin into the Roger chicane and then darts right across the track. Gosh, that was a Larry rejoin. Who was that? Was that 11?
Looked like saying off iRacing, because a strange place to spin into it. Aaron Musk there getting out of the gravel trap well, but yeah, I'd be surprised if you could see if anything was coming. Left-hand drive car shooting across the track, but no damage done, so he did the right thing.
That's the former Olympic snowboarder, Winter Olympic snowboarder. But that's quite a moment.
It's like Days of Thunder coming through the dust, isn't it? I wonder if teams are going to have to start considering cleaning the grills, the radiators more in the race. Just the pure amount of debris going in there. The air filters must be absolutely choked up as well. The amount of dust they're having to clean before it goes through into either the cabin or obviously into the engine as well.
Yeah, perhaps that's one of the benefits for them of a mandated third pit stop, because with the cars coming into the pit lane more frequently, they can do just another couple of seconds worth of work to either scoop or blow out any gravel. Although you can't use a blower, can you? Because that's only on a driver, so it would have to be done by hand rather than a quick machine.
And the problem is the blower is so effective, you blow it the wrong way through the radiator, it blows everything out for you.
Right.
So they normally use a compressed air line for that, but like you said, it's only the driver that can be cooled, so unless the driver's lying in the radiator, there's no excuse for it, but maybe we found a loophole in the rule there for them.
Yes, get a driver to lie in front of it. Very crowded as they come down towards the chicane, including 46 BMW. I think we got Dan Harper into that car when I last looked, as he tries to wring the neck of number 46 to claim a better lap time. Bastien Boost, by the way, has got on board number 80 Porsche, the Lion Speed car, and that is now up to 7th in the times, sort of looking like where it ought to be. So you've got a very different order in terms of the brands and the names and the teams compared to what FP1 was offering, and this has been just calmer all through.
Yeah, there's always adjustments to the BOP, of course, so there'll be some slight adjustments in between FP1 and this session of FP2. And yeah, Harper here seems like he's got the scruff of the neck, and it's looking like a slightly older tyre, potentially, just the amount of rubber it's leaving, and that's what you tend to look at as a driver. Which axle is hurting your performance? Is it front limited or rear limited? And that's where you can make the setup change to try and give you some more on the particular axle you need it from.
And not only is this a calmer session, you could argue it's a slightly more competitive session as well, in as much as 51 cars are now covered by less than a second.
Absolutely incredible, isn't it? The competitive nature of it. 10 manufacturers inside of that second as well.
And Dennis Lynn sort of summed it up, didn't he? He said, you know, well, this is GT World Challenge. Anything could happen kind of attitude.
I don't think there's a championship that even gets close to the depth, and that's how it felt as a driver in this. You're like, that was quite a good lap, I'm 18th.
Yeah.
And then you do, oh, it's quite a bad lap, I'm 42nd. And that was the difference so quickly. Tenths of a second are huge. And that's why we see such great racing, because you can have an average quali be 10 places lower than you should be, and in the race you go forwards, and that's where we see so much drama come race day.
But it's also a championship that's no respecter of reputation, is it? Because, you know, you can have the best CV in the world, you come here and you get perhaps the wrong co-driver, or you're in a car that isn't suited to the circuit, and with so many other cars around, you can just disappear in your stint, you can sink without trace. That's the CSA McLaren that's gone around the first chicane. There's debris on track at turn 11 as well.
It's the 555 car, wasn't it? Just looped round.
Yeah.
Interesting place to lose it. Normally the traction control saves the drivers. Huge snap of oversteer. Moccolacci there braking. Just had his wheels on the entry curb, but seemed unhappy with that. And it was a big old save. But I just wondered if the 555 got helped around there, was going to be my point.
Full course yellow. I can offer you in return as another point. And that is imminent to try and get things out of the way. And the only option when you've got limited lock is to drive through the gravel for Lawrence Leclerc, but he's back running again. Now, if the full course yellow was for him, it won't last long. If the full course yellow is for debris on track, then that will be attended to as well. So an interruption to the session, but again, having a full course yellow like this has lots of benefits. You can keep the session running, you can get a problem sorted, and you're giving the teams and drivers, and indeed the marshals and other officials, a bit of experience of working with an FCY period.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't go right after his spin onto the recovery road rather than having to go across the track in the gravel. But anyway, he got through the gravel, no harm done. But yeah, I agree as well. The track hasn't got the amount of rubbish on it that we had this morning. And maybe Shandorf was right earlier that there's just no more gravel to bring on from the gravel traps, and or they get replenished tonight, because the pure volume that we had this morning was a worry, I think, for the tyres as well, getting cut from those very sharp small stones in the gravel trap.
Well, there is the Stellanios Kolovos Porsche back out after its gravelly moment earlier on that triggered the red flag. That's coming slowly down towards the Parabolica. Behind is Aurelian Panis in the Bartone Get Speed Mercedes. And quite a few electing to come into the pit lane now. They might as well get some work done rather than drive slowly around the racetrack.
Yeah, 27 minutes remaining. By the time you go green, that's going to give you time for 12 more laps or so. So maybe get your last driver in. Potentially the driver, if you're in a bad place, that is the unhappiest. Get their last laps in before quali. Or if you're in a good place, your fastest driver to see. And we are getting full course yellow ending on short notice. So keep an eye out for the green flags. Good practice for the drivers to get off the 80k limit and go now.
Tim Tramnitz in the 998 BMW. Accelerates then out of the Ascari chicane. It's a very distinctive car, that, but is run through the Rover Racing stable along with Ugo de Wilde and Jens Klingmann. And straight away, drivers starting to get the tyre temperatures and pressures back up with a bit of weaving, coming down towards the Parabolica. And then, having done that, finds a slow car ahead and backs out of it.
Yeah, and it's so difficult when the cars in front are going so slow to not get overtaken yourself, and that's where there's a slight rule that you don't lunge each other into the last corner, but when needs must, you've got no mates on track, so you've got to send it and do the best for yourself.
So over the line goes Tim Tramnitz. He's another graduate of the single-seater scene, was very rapid within Formula Regional going back a few seasons, and the 998 BMW riding the curve as it goes through that first chicane. Got as far as Formula 3 did Tim for a season, and then switching to GT racing, continuing BMW's policy of looking at young drivers as the next wave. We had that BMW Junior trio, Neil Verhagen, Dan Harper, Max Hesser a few seasons ago. Through the chicane, another big whack of curb as Tim Tramnitz attacks it. And as Joe was saying, just over 25 minutes of this session to go. And it's all gone quite calm. We've not really needed to talk about shuffling of the order or people doing good sectors, but are we going to get to a point before the checker flag where people do start to think about qualifying as a precursor to tomorrow morning? It also, just before you answer that, feels like it's clouded over a bit and it's got a bit cooler.
Yeah, track temp has dropped 3 degrees, you're right, down to 50 degrees now, so take me a bit longer to cook my fried egg on the surface. But yeah, I'm hoping we're going to see a bit of flurry of new tyres towards the end of this session, just to give us a bit more insight to where cars are at on lower fuel new tyres ahead of qualifying tomorrow, or are teams worried more about their race pace and they're going to stick with these longer runs. And Tim Tramnett's very quick in Formula 3. I remember commentating on him last year in Formula 3. So a big change of car from a single-seater to probably the biggest GT3 car out there. And at the moment down in 51st place. This lap probably is going to lift him maybe slightly higher, but not by too much, unless it's a mega Sector 3, and he stays 51st.
Goes over the line, therefore, and that is a worry now for BMW, because that car is not slow. You've got Patrick Niederhauser 49th as well. The Lamborghini a long way down.
Actually together on track, Niederhauser there just in front of him, as we see Stoltz getting in, Lucas Auer getting out. It'd be good if we could keep an eye on what tyres are going on the car. Is this going to be a set of stickers, as the Yanks would call it, a set of new tyres going, which I think is worth anywhere between 1 to 1.1 seconds a lap.
So Lucas Auer there has done something like 24 laps. He has been in that car since the start of the session, I think.
Yeah, and they really seem to just go 2 drivers a session, don't they, the Manfilter car? Same in session 1, it was just Stoltz and Engel. Looks like they're keeping those tyres on the car. It looked like they're in a rush to get rid of them just off the steering wheel. Surprisingly, it looked like Stoltz moved it away from him, considering the size difference, maybe the seat insert negating some of that difference. Here is the Brazilian Augusto Farfus in 11th, so the BMW at the sharper end. Remember, it's Marciello that put that time on the board, but they really are the only BMW at the sharp end of this grid. The next BMW is in 36th place. Jordan Pepper in 24th.
But all round, head scratching for the BMWs, and it's not that you've got one team up and one team down. They're all peppered across the order, but none looking really special. This is, as you say, the best of the bunch. Farfus over the line, and the time keeps him 11th.
Train of cars in front of us, just a spectacle. It's amazing to be here at the circuit watching it and watching it live on the pictures, but coming to the circuit, you just can't believe how fast these cars thunder around. And when there's 57 of them on 5.7 kilometers, you're getting a car every 100 meters, so the action is thick and fast.
And if you are thinking about coming to a round, don't forget, end of the month, end of June, Spa, for 4 days on track. Wednesday is always a good day because there's the parade and the autograph session and the interviews in town. So why not make the trip to a 24-hour race with a difference? And as soon as the track goes live on Thursday, it's relentless until Sunday evening. Yeah,
if you're a motorsport fan, there's no excuse not to be there. Wedding, funeral, christening, whatever, cancel it and just come, because there is so much motorsport. The concert now feels like a festival going on. Yeah. And if you're brave enough to do the camping, then the party never stops, quite literally. It is a motorsport mecca event.
And did we mention Belgian beer? Because that's pretty decent as well, isn't it?
All adds as a catalyst to the fun, right?
Absolutely. Tickets on sale still, and we'd love your company. And if you've got time on your hands, why not come the week earlier? Because British GT is part of Speed Week the week before, along with French GT, Carrera Cup France, Midjet, French Formula 4, and then there's a couple of days to go and buy your beer, and then you pitch camp in town on Wednesday for the parade, and trackside Thursday onwards, and you'll love every minute on it, I promise you. This is Robert Renauer, Dubai 24-hour winner, and he's coming out of the Parabolica in the Herbert Motorsport Porsche. Again, a car here not to win races, here to win the Bronze Cup, and with a very good chance of so doing.
It's going to be a lap, gets them up to 40th. And it's so hard to not sound sarcastic when you go, that's a pretty good lap, but it puts them 40th, but they're under 7/10 off the quickest, so a 10th of corner, 10th of brake zone, for that car, and they're suddenly right at the sharp end. And this is where you've got to perform as a driver. There is no room for mistake, because one mistake can easily be 10, 15, 20 positions before you know it.
Through in number 80, Porsche, the Lion Speed car, Bastien Bus, winner of the second sprint race of the season at Brands Hatch. And along with Thomas Priming and Ricardo Fowler, they still have to be considered a threat as soon as we start to see real qualifying times, either at the end of this session or really first thing tomorrow morning. But if that car's reliable, unlike in France, then they are potential winners, because there's certainly nothing lacking in the speed department of the drivers.
Yeah, I feel all three are so evenly balanced as well. There isn't a standout one. They're all world class. And they seem to work so well together. They were unlucky with the power steering issue at Ricard because they were on for a mega result, said David. And yeah, unfortunately they had that loose wheel this morning, lost them some running. At the moment, they've had a pretty clean session, and they are right in the mix at the moment, just under 3/10 off the fastest.
And it's good to see Riccardo Fella back at the front of the field, because after he won the Sprint Cup with Audi, sharing with Matteo Drudi, then of course Audi pulled out, so he was a bit homeless in terms of competitive drives for a season or so. Last year with Lion Speed, kept him in work, but running in bronze, and you think, well, okay, yes, he's doing what he's doing, but he really ought to be in the Pro Cup. And thankfully, Lion Speed, with Porsche's blessing, has now got that. 3 proper Porsche contracted drivers on board, and he is quite literally back at the races.
Benji Goethe tucked up right behind him, seems to have a slight pace advantage, but this is what we see with the top drivers, top teams, top cars. When there isn't a huge pace difference, you feel like you get stuck as a driver and you're just unable to do anything about it. And in the race, that's where the action kicks off, because the overtake has to become a lunge, and that's where we see some contact there. See the ComTU Aston team getting to work on the rear. Looks like a rear anti-roll bar change to me, with the action of the mechanics probably loosening the drop link there. And this is their last chance to try and get the 007 in a window where they'll be happier with their performance. 17th at the moment for this car, and yeah, hasn't quite hit form, it feels like, this weekend thus far.
So the session ticks on down.
You can see the mechanic keeping the fan on the driver. Cockpit temperatures rocket so quickly. The AC system in the Aston Martin is actually one of the best, but when the engine is off, that's obviously not working, and you get all the heat sink from the engine exhaust as well, so easily gets up to 55, 60 degrees in there. So just trying to keep Sorensen in the car cool as possible, so when he gets back out on track, he can get straight to it. There we see the top speeds, and it's this RJN car, fastest lap time, but also the fastest top speed, 278 from the Corvette, from the 58 McLaren of Benji Goethe, they go to 59, then an Audi, then a Ferrari. So a good mix of brands, 4 brands represented within 2 kilometers an hour of that top speed, 278 Ks, taking the crown.
So more of them for a quick pit stop. There are speeds in the pit lane being investigated, and McLaren, Chevrolet, Audi, McLaren, Ferrari is a rather unusual looking top 6. Lenny Reed has taken over that Razoon Porsche, part of the Reed Racing family, the people behind the Proton competition team, but still yet to haul it from the bottom of the times.
Good chance for RJN to practice the fueling there. That fuel will have to be connected for 44 seconds in the race. Slightly slow getting away, then stalled. It was like a half stall and then a full stall. Was he slightly distracted by the 007 blocking his exit? But yeah, the fuel has to be connected for 44 seconds. The driver changing tyres happening at the same point in the race. So it's all about getting that fuel on as quickly as you can. But if you come off too early, you will get a penalty.
And there's number 5, McLaren. Car has had a pretty solid session, 5th in the time still from the efforts early on of Guilherme Oliveira. There's the Santalock Audi, rather overlooked Santalock these days, just the one car, but again, in an endurance race, don't rule them out. And that car heading into the chicane. The other Audi we've not really touched on has got Marcus Winkelhock at the wheel, 84, the car that comes out of the East Talent Racing stable with Simon Reicher and Christopher Haase.
Hasse's had quite a busy year, hasn't he, at the Nürburgring? Seems like he was always the man to fight the Verstappen car there, and Hasse, one of the good guys in motorsport, super fast and so loyal to Audi over all of these years. I remember him winning the FIA GT3 championship alongside Christopher Mies. I think that was back in 2009 or 2010, and that was in the first generation Audi. And like I was saying earlier, I call this the 5th generation Evo 2 of the second car they've made, and well over 500 examples of R8s out there, and that's why we're seeing so many of them in our SRO Revival series now, but that first and second generation version.
Yeah, 09, as you say, FIA GT3, and most things he's won in an Audi. He did win the class in the GT4 series in its very early days in a KTM, and was the Dacia Logan champion. I think it was his first title success. Answers on a postcard to other winners of the Dacia Logan Cup, please. But after that, it's Audi all the way.
I have no answers for that question, but I believe did he win Dubai 24 Hours last year in a BMW with WRT? I thought that was going to be his signal of leaving Audi, but he seems like he stayed true to the brand.
He did win it in 24. Yeah, you're right.
2 years ago, sorry.
Yeah. So, toe in the water. And Audi have looked after him, as you say, given him driving duties in the FIA GT Cup in Macau, for example, in that sprint race format, as the next BMW to focus on. Bounces over the curbs, coming through the Roger chicane. Still 14 minutes of this session to go. And that is 32 BMW, which you always sort of assume is going to be the fancied car. Jordan Pepper at the wheel. He's one of the defectors, if you like, away from Lamborghini to BMW. Whether he thought like this Temerario project isn't going to work for a year or two and I need a competitive drive, or whether BMW waved a big bag of gold, only he can tell you. But he's found a happy berth at BMW with Charles Witt and Kelvin van der Linde in that car this season.
Yeah, you'd say he's jumped ship at a good time, but I think if ever as a professional GT driver, WRT and BMW are an option, it's always going to be a hard one to say no. But yeah, from the outside, he has timed this very well, leaving the Spa 24-hour winning car last year. Of course, the Grasser GRT 63 car was so dominant at Spa, it felt like towards the end of the race. But now he's aboard the BMW. Spoke to him at Ricard about the differences, and he just said they couldn't be bigger from the Lambo to the BMW. His own admission felt like he'd taken a little time to get on top of it, but I think he was being too critical of himself because he hasn't looked out of place against his very quick teammates of van der Linde and Wirtz.
Yeah, just thinking ahead to Spa, the Crown Strike 24 Hours of Spa. Lamborghini winning for the first time last year, a win for Aston Martin the season before that. What surprises in terms of the manufacturers will 2026 offer up, I wonder?
Well, when you've got over 70 cars to choose from, it's a bit of a long shot, isn't it? I'll do some talking to the bookies and see who gives me the best odds.
That time we had another Porsche win, isn't it? So we'll see. The race at the end of June. This session, 13 minutes and counting. And we are starting to see little hints of green now. Mirko Bortolotti, for example, improving in sectors, and he's got his Lamborghini Temerario up into 7th in the times. Farfus, we've been looking at doing some improvements. Eduardo Cosseteng had been doing a half-decent time on one sector in the Mustang, then pitted, and we've got Tom Calender up to 26th in the Get Speed Team Dubai Mercedes AMG. So the session coming towards an end. But before it does, we better hear from Valentino Rossi. He's with Nina Jade.
Valet, very special race for you. You can see your fans lining up to see you. How are the conditions out there?
Yes, racing in Monza is always special, and it's not easy because you have a lot of cars that are very fast. I think that we are not fantastic, but we improve compared to yesterday, and now our pace is just off about 2 or 3 tenths. And so now the important is continue to work and try to improve for tomorrow, and after we will see in the race what we can do.
Well, the margins are so tight, like you said. How confident are you feeling for qualifying tomorrow?
Yeah, you know, quali is always a little bit different, and also, you know, in this championship, day by day, the balance can change. So if we are able to improve the car a little bit in the braking and in 2 or 3 small details, maybe we try to fight for the top 10 in the quali. Can be a good result.
Thank you, Valet.
Thank you.
So Valentino Rossi thinking ahead, thinking tomorrow, and we'll see what the BMWs can conjure up overnight.
Max Hesse aboard the car there, visor down. Obviously got a helmet cooler on just to blow cold air in. With it being a sunny day, obviously the visor acting like a pair of sunglasses effectively there. And Hesse and Harper get on pretty well. They've founded their own car. Guys thinking outside of their driving duties, always refreshing to see.
Thinking of the future as well. Let's have a look as the cars come through the Scari chicane about who is fastest in terms of drivers, in terms of cars as well. Ferrari, Aston Martin, the top 2, and some pretty big numbers there.
Yeah, 175 Ks through that mid part when we've ridden on board there. Gives you a good appreciation of quite how tight it is. There's a 90-degree left into this long sweeping right into the last flick left So 175 kilometers an hour through there shows you the downforce generated, but also the grip obviously from these Pirelli slicks. So in case you are working in Imperial, it's 108 miles an hour they're doing through that set of corners we've just watched. So the data provided by AWS, very interesting. Again, great to see 3-4 different manufacturers inside the top 5, showing the greatness of the BOP.
Number 30 BMW, another out of the WRT stable, Ignacio Montenegro, who has come from touring car racing to GTs this year, but has looked really good. Impressed at Brands Hatch. I mean, never raced there before. Goes over the timing line now, but that's another car a long way down. 52nd in the times. We've touched on Lamborghinis as well. Luca Enschler, our next subject of an interview with Bryn.
Well, Luca, your car is still in the pits. It doesn't look like it's going as well as we'd like it to. What's the issue there?
Well, we're trying different things. So obviously we have a lot of track time, so a lot of things we try, and I think we'll be all right tomorrow.
Can you give us any insights on what you're trying to get some better lap time? Because, I mean, it seems like time is running out, isn't it?
Well, in the end, you know, we have a high grip track here. Obviously, fuel load is compensating a lot, so it's a matter of finding the balance with where the balance is shifting towards you running the fuel load down. So I think the boys are doing a good job to get it sorted.
You seem calm.
Yeah, let's see tomorrow.
Good luck, thanks.
Thank you.
So yeah, fingers crossed. You can sense that they want things to happen faster than it's just possible to do.
Yeah, exactly that, because this Lamborghini in 63rd by Bortolotti has really hauled itself up there. It's really been the only car to make vast improvements, it feels like, inside the top 10 towards the end of this session. So the Lamborghini is getting there, but that Luca Enschler car, you would say, at the moment is not the 96 car, nowhere near as competitive as this 63 car, laying down a big set of 11s as he exits the Parabolica and across the line now. I don't think it would be an improvement on his best so far from Mirko Bortolotti, and he does cross the line, and it's not quite an improvement, 4/10 slower than his best.
So session coming to an end then as Mirko Bortolotti goes through, but the fact that car is third fastest now is quite a surprise. And not only at Rutronic is there this frustration that the car isn't doing what the Porsche did last year to win this championship, but that they're also seemingly now being left behind by the Grasser team.
Yeah, and it's a big split, isn't it? It's interesting with Rutronic because they're running a Porsche as well, so it must be hard as a team. Doubling the amount of cars you run is difficult, but doubling when it's a different brand completely, with hardly any crossover of learning with where the engines are, how the whole ethos of the car generates its lap time, as yeah, a strange one and a hard one, I assume, for Rutronic.
So Bortolotti now finding the Corvette ahead of him. Antoine Doquin at the wheel of that car. He comes through, and just a quick look to see what else might be out of position. Well, anything with the BMW badge. And the Henrique Chavez Aston Martin quite a long way down. What happened to the Sorensen Team Drudy car? 19th. Joseph Loke's McLaren's had a better session, 17th in the times.
Yeah, we've got 7 manufacturers inside the top 10. The 3 that aren't there are BMW, Ford and Aston Martin. Dennis goes P11 though, so getting closer for the BMW towards the end of the session.
And Bobby Thompson making his GT World Challenge debut in the pit lane. He's with Bryn.
Bobby Thompson, we're used to seeing you racing around the circuits of the UK in touring car. This is a slightly different beast for you. What's your experience inside GT3s?
Well, last time I drove BMW was 3 years ago. So it's just relearning all the systems again, silly stuff, even how you pull away yesterday, you know. Yeah, just going through all the little bits that you need to, and then driving on track, just getting used to ABS, you know. In the British touring car, obviously we don't have that, or traction control. Just getting my head around how much we use, how much we don't use, and what's the fastest option with that. And learning Monza, iconic track. I got called up Wednesday night at 7 o'clock by the big man Daz to Phil for this weekend, and it was a shock, it was a rush, but we made it, and I think we're doing all right.
Do you like these driver aids? Would you rather get rid of them? And also, we're going to see you in the championship for maybe the rest of the season?
Look, you race with the car you've got, don't you? You know, everyone's in the same boat. It's about how you perfect that and get the most out of it. At the moment, I'm sort of relying on some of the other drivers in that respect. But yeah, I'm getting there. I'm learning. Little disappointed in my run. I've just got out of the car, as you can probably see. Little disappointed in my run there. I felt like I could have taken a little bit more out of it. But listen, it's practice. We've got tomorrow where it starts to matter.
Certainly do. You didn't answer the question about whether you're in for the rest of the season. We'll have to wait and see. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Well, fingers crossed, Bobby Thompson, as I said early on, he has a huge wave of support behind him. We're having another full course yellow here. Now, that could be just another systems check. It could be that there is somebody off. Looking at our tracker map, there's nothing instantly apparent. It could be debris equally, it could be for gravel again. But anyway, we are going full course yellow, and we're nearly at the end of the session anyway, 4.5 minutes on the clock. And this is possibly why it's Corvette that's had a moment. Antoine Doquin over the grass and through the gravel and back on again, but didn't seem to drop anything.
No, it's not the first time we've seen a car do that. It's a car number 6 or 7 of the session that has dropped it across there, but yeah, nothing stops on our track map, and yeah, maybe a bit of debris. But the problem in a full course yellow with so many cars, there's not really a gap for the marshal to run out and get it without going red. So maybe just one last chance to test for the teams, make sure that they've got their 80 dialed in at the end of the session.
So it looks like it's more a systems check for the teams, and therefore it shouldn't last overly long before we get things back underway, just to bring the cars to the checker flag and end the session. So tomorrow, the cars on track early doors for qualifying. Again, the usual 3-part format, 1 segment per driver. So just after 9:30, that session will be underway as the cars under these control conditions continue.
Who's going to be on pole tomorrow?
Find an entry list and a pin, and I will put one against the other. I don't know. I don't think we've got any form to go on. I still can't believe that the BMWs will be struggling tomorrow like they appear to have struggled today. I have a feeling it might be a Mercedes-Porsche battle.
Yeah, for once we agree. I like the 48, just the methodical nature they've worked through free practice. I feel like they're confident they're in a good place. So although they haven't been at the sharp end of either session, they're 12th in this one, for example. There is the 48, the man filter car. I just feel all 3 drivers are very similar. They were fastest yesterday in the paid practice, and just they've had a nice methodical work through of their weekend so far. So yeah, I like the look of this car.
And we know that Mercedes kind of owed a good result after Paul Ricard, where they came so close to a win. Mauro Engel joined us in the booth. He saw a full course yellow appear that then became a safety car, and I can still picture him bristling in his seat as he realised that, hang on, this win, this lead, this race that we've dominated all day is going to possibly get away from us in the last few minutes, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, the colour drained out of his face, wasn't it? It was like watching a car crash in a person's persona, and it was gutting to see because it was completely out of their control, and they did everything to win and deserve the win, but unfortunately they were unable to convert that. And this full course yellow is going to be interesting because tomorrow in the race it just saves you so much time if you can box under a full course yellow versus green, and that might be what decides it again. So 3 drivers in the car, but the team in the strategy call are going to play as big, if not bigger, part to play, in my opinion.
So as the final part of the session ticks on down, full course yellow conditions still prevail.
The race of the turquoise and black cars, wasn't it? It was the Winwood car, the sister car there, to the yellow man filter car racing each other, and they had to decide who was in front as they got to safety car 1 line, and I think quite correctly the Winwood car of Piana deciding he was behind Pintos, so it's PIN versus PIA, and you can see a slight difference in the 80k. Looks like the Merc's got a slight advantage on that one, and when they go through the speed traps, most cars are 78, 79, because you don't want to go over 80 and attract a penalty, but you do want it as close as you can.
Full course yellow is going to end on short notice, but we are into the last few seconds of the session. So there's the green flag, but effectively all this is going to do is allow people to speed up in order to get to the checkered flag. All of a sudden it gets very crowded at the Roger chicane there, 2 of them going side by side, but I think drama is just about averted. 48 Mercedes doesn't look like it's woken up, does it?
No, Stoltz probably thinking it might go to the end on full course yellow, and then maybe even the engineers gone for an espresso, and yeah, I think they've just backed out of it. They don't really want to be there, and maybe that car will box at the end of this lap, in fact, and not take the checkered.
So the session coming to a close. Everybody else goes booming past the pits for another lap. Some may decide to have called it a session under this full course yellow and do some practice pit stop work, whether it's a driver change or the processes of just coming into the pit lane. So still that RJN McLaren from right at the start of the session remains the fastest, but an unusual look to the order. Checkered flag is out, and so the session at an end for the second free practice session tomorrow when we get to qualifying. Well, it's going to have a very different feel, and it should be cooler as well at the start of the day for that session.
Yeah, the RJN car doing it on lap 5, and most cars are in the high 30s of lap done, so really done early within the first 10 minutes of the session for this car here, and it was Ben Noor, the young German driver, who set the time and still sat in the car even though the checkered flag is out. I think Max Lynn aboard the car still, so maybe going to do some pit stop practice, driver change, tyres and fuel all have to happen at a good pace and syncrasy, otherwise that is time that has been lost forever and ever.
So what have we learnt from today? We've learnt that BMW has had a very tough day. We've learnt that gravel and a dirty racetrack is going to be a part of tomorrow. And as ever, keeping out of trouble is pretty crucial.
I thought the Ferrari there was going to go in the back of the Aston Martin, which was going particularly slow around the last corner. The bronze driver in there getting right in the way of Arthur Leclerc, and RJN looking happy, like you said. Bob Neville's team, one of the smaller teams on the GT World Challenge package, but by no means least not fast enough to be here. They've done a good job today, and they'll be happy going into qualifying tomorrow morning.
Very definitely. So Max Lynn brought the car into the pit lane. Ben Durr did the time. Horatio Fitzsimon getting quicker the amount of mileage he does.
The Cut 7, is that reference to the famous Jag-E type Cut 7, do you know, with the Lynn family?
I have a feeling it might be.
I think I've raced that car. It's the grey and blue Jag-E type?
Ex-Dick Prothero car, yes. But
wondered who you're talking
to. There are lots of people that claim that they have the original Cut 7. I think they do have the original one, but brooms and handles and all that. But yeah, I think it is a reference to that, you're right. So Ben Durr did the time ahead of Dennis Lind, and then Mirko Bortolotti to be third. Fourth quickest was Sebastian Ogier towards the end, ahead of the Dylan Pereira Audi, and then Dante Raponge in sixth. Seventh to Alessio Rovera, Nicholas Nielsen and Tommaso Mosca. From Augusto Farfus, Frederick Schandorf was next, and then Gilles Magnus, Robin Knudsen and Alessandro Giretti's Porsche to round out the top 10. Class poles, or class top times at least, to Ben Durr, to Dennis Lind, to Franck Pereira, and the Marvin Deans, Gabriele Piano, Rinat Salikov, Mercedes AMG, topping the times in bronze. So busy track, relatively calm session, and the next time we see everybody on circuit is going to be for qualifying tomorrow morning, 9:35. The cars will take to the circuits, and a very important session, of course, with the average of the times setting the grid, and with turn 1 here being that pinch point, everybody needing to keep out of trouble. Porsche's at the foot of the times, courtesy of the Kolovos family effort that ended up in the gravel, but the car did go back out. Wasn't really able to improve hugely. Still slightly concerned as to the pace of the Ahmad Al-Hafi, Javier Sagret, Callum Williams BMW, that again is a long, long way down, but tomorrow's another day. So the Monza Autodrome takes a breath, and for McLaren fans, a good session with Max Lynn's car being the fastest, although Ben Durr, ex-DTM racer, doing the time. McLaren, Chevrolet, Lamborghini, Audi, McLaren, the top 6 at the end of the session. And the RJN team will be very happy, no doubt, with the pace of the McLaren. I know qualifying is a different feel altogether, but decent pace going into tomorrow. So as the field of GT3 cars makes its way down the pit lane, the circuit will be given over very shortly to a track full of McLarens, just in keeping with what we've seen in that previous session, with the McLaren Trophy Europe's opening round coming up very shortly on track here. So let's hear from Max Lynn from that RJN team. He didn't do the time, but he is ready to talk to us.
Max, a nice clean session. I know your teammate set the time, but it must fill you with confidence ahead of tomorrow.
Yeah, look, we've been working on the car all day, and we've got her in a position where she's fast, and we know we've got a good car under us, and Ben's super fast in everything that he drives, and obviously had a good result at the weekend in DTM, so he's full of confidence. But yeah, clean session, and take the car into qualifying and see what we can do.
I mean, the lap was 3/10 quicker than FP1 this morning, so it's looking good.
Yeah, track's ramping up and more rubber's going down, and everyone's discovering new things and new setups. So yeah, it's going to get faster and faster, but I'm sure in quali tomorrow we'll see a lot faster lap times.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good effort for Max Lynn, Ben Dorr and Horatio Fitzsimon, the three drivers of that car. So just after 9:30 tomorrow, we get set for qualifying in GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup here at Monza.